So we got 168 here for us. What did we talk about last time? What did we do last time? You're gonna actively see me try to remember. Last time was we were introduced to some of the other domes. We got to meet Selena Kim. Her name was Selena, right? Got to meet Selena Kim. We got to meet. Ooh, what's her name? It starts with an I. That's right. I'm not even. Damn it! I know it. I feel like I know it, but I don't want to say it and get it wrong. I do that too much. We met a few people. We met people from America, of course, the Soul Dome with our peeps. We met people from. Can't remember the name of the dome. But it was like the It's like the Russian dome, right? The Moscow. I don't remember. I'm guessing. Stabbing in the dark. But we met a bunch of people. Really much didn't happen. It was just like set up chapter for the craziness that's about to happen. So that's pretty much what it was. All right, here we go. We have prepared you temporary seating in the banquet hall on the first floor. Just remember that the first floor only hosts the historical constellations. Okay? Push back a little. All right. Here we go. Oh, look at all his feats up there. Is it just his stuff, or is it going to be other people's stuff as well? Because that's him, and that's him, and that's Sangha and Little Yu Sung and him as well. Okay. A hammer. What does the sword say? Is it in a different language? Am I not supposed to understand what this is? What? I don't think I'm supposed to understand that, right? I think it's in a different language. Or not in English, I should say. Back up. I feel like this all might be stuff I might be able to recognize. Let me continue. Oh yeah, I'm such an idiot. I'm looking at this. These items are the constellations. I'm like, I didn't know what I thought I was looking at. These are constellations. Oh, so slow. I'm sorry. It took me a second, but I got there. I didn't realize it until I seen all of them here, and then I looked at the tables, and I'm like, oh. See, I don't know a lot of fables or stories. My history has been slacking. I used to love history, but over the last, I don't want to say 10 years, close to 10 years, I really haven't been diligent like how I used to be. All right, here we go. Selena Kim, the King's Guardian. I've been keeping my eye on you. I have high hopes for you. Who's talking? Iris, the little devil of the red square. Yeah, the symbolic bodies. She's adorable. She's just as I saw in the feed. Did you see that? Is what she seems to be saying. I'm certain they're going to have a lot to say about Dokja. They have to have a lot to say about him. Everyone looks just like how they looked on the screen. Was that all the way in the big eyes? Look at all the screen is nothing but him. I was wondering. The screen is not all the screens there is nothing but him. That's the conversation from a few chapters ago when he was telling Jungyak to live. This is electrification. That's electrification. This is when he was in Peaceland. Yeah. This is all very recent. All Peaceland stuff. Is that when Jungyak took the sword from him whenever he did that? Is that when he took the sword after they got from Peaceland and he made like the concoction? I think that's when that was, right? Interesting. Hey, why is everyone so quiet? Am I that unpopular? It's Dokja Kim from Korea. It's Dokja Kim. It's Dokja Kim. Dokja Kim. Dokja Kim. The Dokja Kim. Dokja Kim. The king of the world without kings. The man who does the unthinkable. Hey, do you remember me? I'm Bald Army General. Dokja Kim. I'm the great king. I remember Bald Army General, and I remember Huangbu. I do remember that. I had a great time watching you in Peaceland. You really aren't that bad. This is crazy. Hey, wave at me. Hey, wave at me. I spent 3,000 coins on you already. Get over here, everyone. That's hilarious. It's Dokja Kim. Hey, he's not as ugly as I thought he'd be. You're quite a looker, Dokja. I think we're back. I messed it up. Oh, I messed it up. It's so sensitive. My bad. I hope that wasn't too messed up for you guys. All right, we're good. I didn't realize how sensitive everything is. I gotta fix that. If it's that sensitive, I slam on the desk. Okay. All right. He's not as ugly as I thought he'd be. You're quite a looker, Dokja Kim. And this has to be... I feel so good. She was being so smug. And now all the constellations are flocking to him. I love it. I love it. Constellation Banquet, Part 4. Seongyak, you're the best Supreme King. Join our nebula, the Supreme King. Looking good. He's so cool. Just as expected. Seongyak's quite popular too. Hey. Yes? Oh, you're twiddling your fingers. Don't act too rashly if you want to stay alive. What? She is known as the war god of the Red Square in Russia. And some people do call me that. What? A few constellations are amazed by your foresight. Many constellations have sponsored you 5,000 coins for having taught her a lesson. I didn't realize that was Dokja saying that. Don't act too rashly if you want to stay alive. They were streaming all that? Of course they were. You thought they would stop their stream just because we were in the world of the constellations? How naive. This place is where all the tragedies of mankind become a feast. Embarrassed. Look, they're all laughing at her. They may be cheering me on, but they're actually the ones I have to fight against in the end. Caught in 4K, yep. The historical constellations are on the first floor, while the fabled constellations are on the second. So where do the reincarnation constellations fall in the line? Do they get their own floor? Are they a part of the historical constellations? Would they be considered fabled constellations? Because they're flocking him like vultures right now for his resurrection that's about to happen. So I wonder. He's gonna have to navigate carefully regardless. I need to be careful here. Excuse me. Just remember this one thing. Don't trust anyone, right? There must be a good reason why Dionysus said something like that. Starting now. Fable is a tier, not a type. Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Starting now, I must look for someone I can use, not someone I can trust. Over here, Dokja Kim. Is that a voice who does he recognize? Bald Army General. And you are the lady of the sleeping brocade? Is that what that says? Brocade? Brocade? Yes, I see that you remember me. That's right, long time no see. I can't believe you're here. I really wanted to see you again. That eye patch. He must be one-eyed. Oh, I don't know how to say. I remember you guys told me how to say his name. I forgot how to say it. Maitreya. And behind him must be the great king Hwangmu. Dokja Kim. Bank of Korea. 100 won coin? It's nice to see you. Why is there a 100 won coin? I'm sorry, but who are you? How disappointing. Don't you recognize me? Wait. The historical figure who appears on the 100 won coin is... It seems that you've been putting that stigma I gave to you to good use. Oh, Susan Lee. Okay. The great Admiral Sunsen Lee. Cheers, go. Historical fabled myth. Gotcha. Thank you. No matter how unpatriotic you may be, there isn't a single Korean whose heart wouldn't pound with excitement in his presence. Admiral, thank you for your help back then. But why have you taken up such a form? It is not of my own will that I have manifested myself like this. Then he too? Who's a Bill? He's the creator of Hangul? How do I pronounce that? 10,000 won. He also has a statue of himself in... These Korean names are tough on me. They're tough on my generic English-speaking brain. Hwangwamun. Aha. Hangul. Okay, thank you. Hangul. He also has a statue of himself in Hwangwamun, like I do. Do you not know him? How could I not? Their symbolic forms usually take after the things they're the most well known for. Okay, that makes sense. I guess he and I are in a similar situation. That makes sense. I understand why King Sejong the Great is a Bill. But shouldn't Admiral Sunsen Lee be a turtle ship? I think because like money is common. Everybody probably knows him off the money. They all smirking. I was gonna note that too. I should have said something. I was gonna note that up in the like on the second floor, they all were in like human forms. Now we saw Sun Wukong, not as Sun Wukong, but as in a form, and he was human-like, but he wasn't a dollar bill or anything. The fabled constellations of the second floor are all in human form. The constellations who have difficulty paying the probability costs must have taken on simplified representations. Okay, makes sense. Who's that on the stairs? Who is that? He looks cool. Who's that constellation? He looks cool. Who? Oh, you mean him. He doesn't seem like a fabled constellation, and he's in his humanoid form. There's no other constellation in Korea whose fame exceeds his. He's a historical constellation? You could say he's the most powerful historical constellation. He's achieved his status by his own feats, independent of the fame that history brings upon us. Okay. Have you heard of Goryeo, top swordsman? I butchered that, sorry. I've heard that story. I hear that stories about him have been rather popular these days. He looks really cool. No way. Out of our way. Who's rushing? Ah! Are they coming? I was gonna say, are they coming to get him? The queen wants an audience with you. Okay. This is moving quite quick. I should say. You really must be quite popular. I didn't expect them to take you up to the second floor. Jungyak is also heading upstairs just as I expected. Who's taking him though? That's the thing. Watch yourself up there. Give him a little nod. I gotcha. You're just as pathetic as the rest of them. To think you'd grovel at the feet of those bastards on the second floor. What do you mean by that? Goryo's top swordsman. Do you not wish to live? I am ready to lay down my life whenever it be called for. Wanna take me on? Uh-oh. Dokja's like, oh, he's huge. His sword is bigger than him. His sword is literally bigger than Dokja. That's crazy. Don't get so cocky just because you're on the level of fabled constellations. You're just parasites living off their fame. They talking spicy. The judges of the underworld may be on the same level as fabled constellations, but they maintain their status off of the stories of Persephone. So he's not wrong, but risky to say. I don't know what brings you all the way here, but you better not act out of line because the creation gods of this area have vacated the premises. Bro, he's talking mad spot. I want to see the sword, please. Can I see what it looks like? Please? He's talking mad spicy. Enough. Judges do not cause any unnecessary conflict. Ooh. Ooh. And you too, Goryo's top swordsman. I suggest you learn to keep your manners. I see. Stealer image again. Makes sense. Long time no see, Dokja-kin. Damn it. Why a chapter have to go so fast? This is a good look though, I'm not gonna lie. That is a good look. Not gonna lie. That is a pretty good look. Alright, so this chapter was a lot. It's a lot of mostly dialogue. Yeah, definitely 100%. A lot of talking going on, but it's a lot of like cool dialogue between characters and kind of being like shown the ropes. It's funny. It's funny. I don't want to say that Dokja let his guard down with the constellations from Korea, but I did. So it's like Dionysus tells us don't trust anybody, and for some reason like the constellations from Korea talking to us, I don't remember their names, I'm sorry. Hangul, right? Hangul and what was the other one? Crap. Hangul and it evades me. But I let my guard down. I don't know why I felt comfortable. Susanly, right? Or is it Susanly, right? Sunsinly. Sunsinle. Sunsinle. There we go. Hangul is a Korean writing system. Damn it. So what? I want to scroll back up. So how is this? Hangul. Sunsin Lee, and then the dollar bill was. He's the creator of I'm a Muppet. Gotcha. Okay. All right. It's what he created. It's not his actual name. I got it. I'm slow on the uptake. My bad. But yeah, I let my guard down 100% whenever they were talking. I just kind of was like, all right, it's kind of like they're going to show us the ropes. They're going to, and this over here, and this over here, and them up there, and that over there. It's kind of like I let my guard down. They can be like, and I gotcha. Right? They could have did that, and I would have been caught off guard 100%. It's just like Dionysus says it, and then it's just like, I ain't listen. I would have been jammed up. Dokja's on point, though. I will say that. He's on point. I definitely should have mentioned how, because I noticed it the first time we ever looked up to the second floor, and we got to see that the fabled constellations had like human forms, and I was like, and I should have said something because I definitely noted it, but I just kept going. I'm glad the series touched back on it, so it's like they're able to pay the probability fee. That's what they called it, right? The probability fee, or the probability charge or price, whatever they called it. They're able to maintain that well, so they can so that they can do that. They're not forced to like what the sword guy said. They're not forced to like go off of the popularity and of their history. They can just go off of what they actually did. Right? It's what they actually did and not off their own popularity. It's a cool distinction between the both of them. Makes me wonder. I think you said it was historical, fabled, and then myth. Like when we get to see the myth people, if we get to see the people, the myth constellations, what the hell is going to be the difference there? Like, is that so? Was that 2 chapters ago? Or was that 3 chapters ago? Whenever we first got here, and he like walked through the door, and it was all of the different constellations like looking at him. What would English? What were they? Were they myth? Were they fabled? Were they historical? Whenever we first got there and we walked through, I want to say it was 2 chapters ago. We walked through the doors, and Sun Wukong showed up there and then disappeared. As like got pulled away, and then all the different eyes were looking. He was kind of like stuck. So that was historical too. We know that Dokja stories have a lot of value, so I wonder what grade constellation he would be once he gets his 5th fable. Everyone's eyes start there. Probably fabled since they were in humanoid forms. That's what I was thinking. Because Sun Wukong was there. Or Golden Headband, I should say, was there in a humanoid form. And then was like pulled away. Like that pulled away. And then it was eyes everywhere. And then that's when our boy hey, and brought him over. Like, what are you doing? I wonder what. Yeah. So you're saying Dokja would start off as a historical constellation? How would that work? These are questions I want to ask but don't want to ask because they're rhetorical. But I don't know. He's not in any nebula. Oh, yeah. Sun Wukong is at least a fable constellation, maybe even a myth. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a myth. Just how big Sun Wukong is. Right? How big Sun Wukong is. It wouldn't surprise me as a myth. Is it Journey to the West? That's what Sun Wukong is from. Isn't that one of like the biggest stories in the world? Not only just its country that it originated from. There's so many different things that are based from it. Like just going off of his mythology. That's all I was trying to say. His mythology and popularity alone, and all of the different medias that's adapted the story and the characters and how popular those are and spin-offs. Like, I would assume he would have to be a myth. No, if Sun Wukong doesn't qualify to be a myth, then who the hell qualifies to be a myth? Right? It's like one of those things. It's like, if Sun Wukong isn't a myth, then what the hell do we consider a myth? It's one of the biggest stories in the world. It's literally a story that if you don't know what Sun Wukong de facto is, you know a story that was inspired from it. And so it's like it's one of those things. There's no way it can't be a myth. Yeah, like Zeus in Hades. Like Zeus, definitely. If Zeus isn't a myth, then I don't know. I'm not sure. I have no idea then what is a myth. I guess myth is like no fear of the story disappearing from time. Yeah. Like, I would assume there's a lot of religious constellations that would have to be myths just because of just the magnitude of the amount of people that believe in that faith. That's just, I would assume that there's some of those that would be considered myth. Like, when I think of historical, like a historical figure in a country would be historical, but if that country ceased to exist, or if that country's name is changed, or it was conquered and taken over, like their history, like that history could be lost to time. It's stuff like that. Thinking of all of the different civilizations that have existed in the past. I'm tired, if you can't tell. All the different all the different like civilizations that existed in the past that were either subjugated or enslaved or wiped out completely. Like those are like historical, like, I don't know what they were. I have no idea. There'd be no way to really know unless they were unearthed. But outside of that, there are some places that were just wiped out. Like, you think of Genghis Khan and the Mongols, and how they killed so many people that if you literally go through like the layers of the earth, when Genghis Khan went on his whole crusade, his whole purge of just killing millions of people, it was less pollution on the earth because of so many people that died. So it's like, how many villages that had unique history just don't exist anymore, and we have no idea what they could be. They're a paragraph in our history book, something like that. Like, you get a little section bold, and this civil is like this, and then we just turn the page and we just keep it moving. How many different villages and settlements and all, like, they would just be poof gone. Honestly, surprised we haven't met any Norse mythology constellations. Like, imagine Zeus and Thor. That'd be fun. That is fun. How we haven't. Yeah, no one. Hey, good point. No one is around to tell their stories anymore, right? No one is around to tell their stories anymore. Worded it better than I did. Worded it better than I did. But yeah, there has to be a ton of those that exist. Has to be. So like for those not existing, and then for like a country like Korea, which isn't big in terms of other countries and the sizes and populations, someone like one of their leaders that's on money, like that's like a lot of people from their country would know, or people that travel there would know who that is. But me, I had no idea. Didn't know who these people were until I read this series. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's something like that. That's why they're historical. But then I'm thinking of like Like who would be fabled? Like something that would be fabled. I don't know. I have no idea. My whole point of talking about all of this was trying to figure out what would Dokja be considered as. And I think he would be considered right now. No, this is what I wanted to say. I'm still trying to figure out who the Constellation who likes to change genders is. Same thing. My mythology isn't great either. I wonder if there's ever been a human original constellation that went above historical. That one's pretty easy to figure out, but I won't spoil just in case. That's not a reference. That's an actual like historical reference or a mythology reference. Is that a reference to like another series? I don't know. I have no idea. But the point that I wanted to make, and I forgot it, remembered it, forgot it again, remembered it again, forgot it again. I'm back to remembering it again. Now we know that, well, we can assume that these constellations and all of this stuff have existed for all of this time, and we're just now being made aware of it because Earth has now been pulled into this whole thing, right? This whole dome game and these what are they called? The what is each wave called? What the hell? My brain tonight is terrible. The scenarios. The scenarios. Like now that Earth's been pulled into these scenarios and everything, we're now being made aware of the star system and the constellations and all of that. We're being made aware of it. I think we do know his supporting constellation. I think we do. But I don't remember it, but I do think we know. I think we know everyone's supporting constellation besides Junghyak's, because nobody knows what that is. And Dokja doesn't have one. I think we know everybody's. We don't know what it is? I thought we did. I thought we did know. We don't know? Really? Why am I thinking that we knew that? Huh. That got me. I thought we knew that. Gil-young is a real person, so you can't read his profile since they're not characters. Huh. Gotcha. I thought we knew. What am I thinking of then? I thought we knew. I'm wrong on that. Wow. Point. I need to get to my point that I've been trying to make. Is there a constellation? So my whole point is all of the constellations that come from Earth. I'll just put it that way. All the constellations that come from Earth are now interacting with Earth in a way that I'm assuming they've never interacted with people from Earth before. So it's like, what constellation would Dokja be if he became a constellation? And well, this is the thing. What happens to you when you become a constellation? That's my first half. And then the question I was thinking of, I've been trying to spit out is, has there ever been someone who has become a constellation who was already popular and favored by some of the constellations. What does that even mean? Do aliens have constellations? I would assume yes. I would assume yes. Peaceland was a fictional story that got turned real, and it had its own constellations and its own lore. So I would assume that any other planet that had life eventually, like, their historical figures on that planet would have become constellations in their passing. That's what my first part is. Like, it's like, that's essentially what happened to historical constellations, right? Yeah, they're real people. But that's why I'm like, I don't, like, what happens to you when you become a constellation? Did they die and then come up, like, did they die? Like, was Sun Wukong a real, this is what I'm talking about. This is where it's just like, was Sun Wukong a real person? Why does Sun Wukong exist in the star stream and is a constellation? Was he real? Did Sun Wukong actually exist on this planet at some point in time? I don't know. You see, this is where it's just like we know of real, actual historical people who are constellations. But then we have these beings who are constellations that we deem as mythology, where it's just like, we don't know if they were real or not. But in this star system and all these constellations, they are real. We're interacting with them. We're seeing them. So it's just like, did they exist before? See, this is, it's just like, my brain, I'm stuff is like going, but I don't have any direction where I'm going. I don't know. So it's like, I don't know. This is my point. This is my point. This is my point. This is my point. If any fable can have constellations, does that mean fictional characters can be constellations? Would Gandalf be watching the scenarios? Right. Like the Lord of the Rings, all of those books, that whole series, all of those characters that are beloved by so many people in this world, it's so popular. Would they eventually become constellations in the star stream? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, is Superman a constellation? It's like this is where it's just like, where's the correlation? Where, I don't know. Like, if a fictional story can become a constellation, at what point, what level of popularity, at what point does it become sentient? Right? At what point does it become alive, for the lack of better words? Aware, sentient, in the star stream as a constellation, able to take a form. But on the flip side, when does an actual person in history become a constellation? Is that when they leave their mortal form on Earth? Like a general dies in battle, and upon his death, he then becomes a constellation? Or the general dies, and then 500 years after his death, history books have been written about him, and then he becomes a constellation? I'm unsure of that. So that's when I focus all of those thoughts that I have no answers to onto Dokja, where Dokja is one fable away from becoming a constellation. And he's alive. I'm going to assume he's going to revive and come back. He's alive. I think he's going to succeed in getting his fable at some point in time during the series and become a constellation. when he becomes a constellation, is he like a constellation in waiting, like a Slayer candidate from Tower of God, where it's just like he's not a Slayer yet, he's just a Slayer candidate? Is he just like a constellation candidate, and then when he fulfills another prerequisite, then he'll become a real constellation? Like, what happens to him? Can he still participate in the scenarios if he becomes a constellation? Like, if he does become a constellation, like, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, are we actively getting new constellations? What if there, like, what if, I don't know. There's so many, like, the universe is so vast, and you have, like, returners who was from Earth. They were from Earth, but then they got sent somewhere else, and then they came back, and they're on this Earth. But then you have, like, Yusung, the Beast Lord, who was from Junghyuk's 41st regression, which for us hasn't happened yet. But somewhere in the universe, it has happened yet. So, like, is there somewhere in the universe where, or different regression or different timeline, where Dokja existed during TWSA and became a constellation, and there is a Dokja constellation that's out there that we know of, and he somehow has found his way into a timeline where another version of him exists, and he's been watching this whole time? Like, that's where I'm, it's just like, it's so vast, my brain can't, like, actually think about it. And I can't actually think about it. My brain, like, my head hurts. Because I would assume, maybe it's wrong to make this assumption, but I would assume that surely there's another timeline that Dokja exists in. Surely? Is this the one anomaly where Dokja is in TWSA? Is this the one anomaly? Because if it's not the one anomaly, and there's another Dokja that did become a constellation and entered the star stream, then I'll be damned, there's a Dokja that's a constellation that could be watching us, that we actually could already be interacting with. Secretive Plotter is so secretive. What if that is Dokja from another timeline? Like, we're dealing with the catastrophe of floods, who is Yusung from a future that doesn't exist yet, that Dokja has read about, but is a completely different timeline and is in our face at the same time. But also, we have our own little Yusung who's 12. It's like, come on, man. It's like, right? It's like surely, I don't know. I have no idea. To be fair, many people become famous because of eulogies that are told when they die. Princess Diana, for example, that is right. Another question, can one reject being a constellation? That's a good point. Imagine he gets a message from his apocryphal, and he rejects it. It's really on big brain. I'm just thinking. The series makes you try to think really hard, and I'd be wrong a lot of the times, it feels like. But I don't know, it's just something about, like, I fully haven't digested what the scenarios are, right? I still get hung up on scenarios and how everything's going and the catastrophe of questions and it's just like I still get hung up on that. And now we're dealing with constellations and what makes you a constellation and what tier constellation you are. Like, are you a historical one? Are you a fabled one? Are you a myth one? What makes you a myth one? What makes you fabled? Are myth ones even real things that happened? Are they just stories? Right? Are they just stories? Were they actual, like, living beings on the planet at one time? Was Greek mythology actually real? Did these beings in Mount Olympus, does it actually exist? Or is it just mythology that's really popular and became a constellation? What constitutes a story becoming sentient? Right? What constitutes a story being a, like, there's so many questions that we literally don't have the answer to. We don't have the answer to. And we may get the answer to it, we may not get the answer to it. And I don't care either way. Like, if I never get the answer to some of these questions, but I get told a really good story like we've been getting, I'm fine. But if you do decide to tell me the answer to these things, if it makes sense, I'm fine. If it makes sense, I'm fine. Even if it doesn't make sense, if the story's good enough, I'll be fine. I can overlook a lot. I can. The longer I think about this series, the closer my brain gets to spontaneous combustion. Dude, the wheels can start turning when it comes to the series. It really can. It really can. Going with there, secret applies actions, does make sense. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a constellation that we've already interacted with that is Dokja or knows Dokja. Something like that. Like Secretive Plotter. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Dokja. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an individual that was close to Dokja but isn't him. I would not be surprised if any one of these constellations that we have no idea who they are is someone that we know. I wouldn't be. I feel like it's really simple. If a story is famous enough, then it doesn't matter if it's true, myth, or complete lies. That could be the case too. But then it's just like when you start to narrow that down and you look at specific constellations, and you're like, what were you? It's like, what were you? It's just interesting to think about, because from my viewpoint of being a real person, I would hope I'm a real person, of being a human being and being aware of history and things that could have existed and things that couldn't have existed. The thought of having a conversation with an entity that was not a real thing on planet Earth but now has form. I think of it like recreators, right? I think of it like recreators, where all of these authors wrote these series and then characters from their series get to come to life, and some characters are happy to meet their creators and some characters are pissed off because they now know that they were a story and their life was hell, and they're looking at their author like, why did you make my life this way? Why did you make me go through all of these things? It's like one of those things. It's like having a conversation with something that is now real but was not real before, and how do you reason with that when their whole world isn't real but now they are? Like, everything about your world was something that came from someone else's brain, and now you are a real entity. Like, how do I reason with you? How do we have conversation? How do we come to agreements? How do we disagree? Like, where does that, it's like, how does that come to be? It's like, it's just something interesting to think about. So yeah, I'm gonna call it there. Thank you guys. I appreciate you, YouTube, if you're seeing this. Happy Wednesday. We'll be back here next Tuesday. Hopefully, God willing, we'll be back here next Tuesday. We'll be back on my birthday. We'll be back here on my birthday. So have a good one. I appreciate you guys. So this will be the end of the stream as well. I appreciate you again. Thank you again, and see you next time. Peace out. My buttons are messed up.